So here we'll look at different ways to collect data, and in particular we're going to concentrate on 4 different methods. So the first thing we're going to look at is a telephone survey. So there are some good things about telephone surveys. The first would be that they are relatively cheap, which is always a plus. Another is that there's no face-to-face contact. So this is actually a good thing because we have shown that without face-to-face contact, people are more likely to tell the truth. They have this sense of being anonymous, so they feel more comfortable admitting things and being honest. However, there are some bad things as well. One, not everyone has a phone. So that definitely doesn't help us. In addition, people could just not answer their phone when we call. As well, whenever we do these telephone surveys, we usually refer to public phone records, so cell phones and unlisted numbers are not able to be called. So cell phones and unlisted numbers are kind of ruled out. We can only call landlines that are listed. In addition, the tone of voice of the caller, of the person who's calling, the surveyor, could have a huge impact on the responses. The next thing we're going to look at is an internet survey. This one's also relatively cheap. And there's still no face-to-face contact, so you still have that sense of being anonymous. In addition, there's no interviewer influence. The tone of voice, that was the problem with the phone interview, no longer matters. So the interviewer cannot influence answers. However, there are also some cons. One, not everyone has internet. So once again, we're missing a group of people that we cannot survey. Another one is it usually does require going to a particular website. Usually, you don't want to do this unless you plan on going to the website anyway, or you feel very strongly one way or the other, and so you'll take the time out to do it. In addition, and when we're dealing with the internet, a single person could respond multiple times. There are ways to block this, however, there are also numerous ways to get around these blocks. A third option would be a mailed questionnaire. So these are becoming less common, but they do still exist. So one of the pros is it covers a very wide geographic area. Everyone has an address. So we can mail these to everyone. There's still no face-to-face contact, so people will be more honest. And there's still no interviewer influence. So a tone of voice cannot affect anything. However, there are some cons as well. One, mailed questionnaires tend to get a low number of responses. We can mail out a lot of these things very cheaply. However, not many people are actually going to respond. There could also be inappropriate answers. And then one more is people could have difficulty understanding the questions or reading the questions. So you could have difficulty reading or understanding. And we'll do one last way. Which is a personal interview. Actually talking to people one-on-one. So first, we can get very in-depth responses this way. Actually talking to someone, we can sit there and talk to them, figure out their response, ask follow-up questions to kind of instigate more, and we can get very in-depth responses. In addition, we're able to explain questions here. So if someone doesn't understand, it's okay, because we have someone there who can just explain. However, there are definitely some drawbacks. One, interviewers have to be trained, so it does take a lot of time just to prepare. So our interviewers need training. They could be biased in the selection of respondents. So if we're standing out on the street and we're trying to find people to talk to, we could be very biased with who we try to stop to talk to us. In addition, it's very costly. It's definitely one of the most costly methods because it does require the training of people and then actually putting people out to interview. And then last bad thing, is that there is face-to-face contact. So people may feel that they want to lie due to this face-to-face contact. They want to kind of make themselves look a little better.